The White House just told Congress what it wants to see when it comes to AI regulation, or lack of regulation, I should put it. We can have a good faith argument about all sorts of regulations around this stuff, but what this framework given to Congress essentially is, I will point out, is exactly what the AI industry wanted from Santa. I'm Jake Ward. This is The Rip Current. We look at the big invisible forces shaping our lives. Right now, on Capitol Hill, Congress has received its recommendations from the White House as to how it should regulate arguably the single most important issue of our lifetime, and that's going to be how AI is allowed to metastasize through our lives. The National Policy Framework for Artificial Intelligence came out today, and I'll just tell you, so I found out yesterday from Axios' reporting that this was probably coming today. So I put together a preview piece in which I sort of guessed a little bit at what it might contain based on the patterns we've seen from the Trump administration and its AI czar, David Sachs. And then I scheduled that thing to publish at 5 a.m. Pacific this morning. And to be perfectly honest with you, I went surfing because I thought to myself, you know what? I think I know what's going to be in this thing. I don't think it's going to take me exactly by surprise. And so was that cynical? Yeah, sure. Is that good journalism? No, I don't think so. But was I right? Yes. Do I regret surfing? No, because really fundamentally what we saw here was exactly what the folks I've been speaking to all this time, would have predicted, which is a very open regime of very little regulation applied to the AI industry. And it's really no surprise here because so much of it is clearly authored by David Sachs, who, as we'll talk about, is still an insider in Silicon Valley. Now, the top piece of the framework, I'll just point out here, is a great political move, and it is called Protecting Children and Empowering Parents. AI services and platforms must take measures to protect children while empowering parents to control their children's digital environment and upbringing. Now, it is absolutely the case here that the fundamental takeaway of this thing is that it is all about taking away existing state law when it comes to AI. All 50 states plus Puerto Rico have passed some sort of state law around AI since 2025. And this would wipe all of them out. But this is one case, the children's protection, where they would continue to allow the states to do that. And this is clearly a sort of a sweetener for both Democrats and Republicans in Congress who would be, otherwise hard-pressed to say yes to something like this. We saw back in, when was it? Well, whenever the Big Beautiful Bill Act was first being debated, at the very last minute, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas tried to put in a provision that would have wiped out all state AI law for 10 years. And that thing died hard. 99-1, it was defeated. And that is, that's of course an incredible bipartisan landslide in this day and age. And it reflects everybody's uncertainty about AI and their deep anxiety about it. I mean, you have people like Josh Hawley suddenly, openly talking about the need to, legislate against the wiping out of jobs by AI. That's a place where he's got an incredible amount in common with Bernie Sanders, right? I mean, this is really bringing people together across the political spectrum. And I keep thinking about how Andrew Yang, who ran for president on the whole idea of universal basic income because he said that AI was going to wipe out all our jobs. That guy, was considered something of a crank when he first came out. It must be crazy to be Andrew Yang right now. I would be at the bottom of a whiskey bottle if I were him, just watching, I thought I had it bad watching my thesis come true. Watching his thesis, him watching his thesis come true must make him absolutely crazy. So The thing I would just say broadly about this, so let's run through a little more of what it's got here. So it's protecting children and empowering parents. There's something that they're talking about, safeguarding and strengthening American communities. But what that really is making it easy for data centers to be built, and also making sure that local residents don't pay more in electricity when the data centers are built. There's a whole thing about that American creators, publishers, and innovators should be protected from AI-generated outputs that infringe on their protected content without undermining lawful innovation and free expression. And the thing that I would just point out about this is that they are not saying that people should be allowed to sue based on having their stuff vacuumed up by AI. What they're instead saying that it's an incredible careful dodge here. They basically say that training AI models on copyrighted material is not a violation of copyright law, but acknowledges that there are arguments to the contrary and supports the idea that courts can resolve this issue. But what it doesn't do is protect creators. It doesn't protect authors or musicians or anybody else. It just says the courts will figure that out. But fundamentally, we don't think that AI vacuuming up your work is copyright violation, is intellectual property theft. It also has a big thing about free speech and anti-censorship is what they're calling it. Congress should prevent the U.S. government from coercing technology providers to ban, compel, or alter content based on partisan or ideological agendas, right? Which is just a way of saying we don't want woke AI. And that is it's a real culture war provision here rather than an AI governance provision. They talk otherwise. This is where we get into what they wanted from Santa. A regulatory sandbox approach that basically they shouldn't create any kind of new agency to regulate AI. That there should be these sort of these big federal data sets available to AI companies for training. And there should be, it should be existing rules and industry-led standards, which is exactly what the industry has always wanted. And here's the big one for me. Well, in order of big ones, there's almost nothing here about protecting workers, right? Congress is basically saying that it should use non-regulatory methods to incorporate AI training into existing education programs and should study trends in workforce realignment driven by AI, not push back against it, not in any way try to regulate against the idea that your job could be wiped out by AI, or in any way put regulations on employers around that. Nope. Instead, we'll study it, they say, but that's it. And here's the big thing. When you look across state law right now, it touches all of this stuff. You've got, Colorado's AI Act, which requires the developers of AI systems to use reasonable care to protect consumers from all kinds of stuff, including algorithmic discrimination in hiring and loans and bail. You can very easily have an AI system look at your background statistically, your ethnicity, your religion, whatever, and make a weird statistical assumption about your qualifications for something simply based on super biased patterns from past data. Colorado's trying to wipe that out. They're trying to say you shouldn't be able to do that, and they do impact assessments around that. It's the only state law, in this case, specifically singled out by the White House as being a kind of woke AI provision that needs to somehow be done away with. Illinois has a similar law that prohibits the employer use of AI that would discriminate against protected classes. Even Texas, right? Conservative Texas has a whole thing requiring disclosure and bias evaluations around housing and employment and healthcare. This is because these states have seen the effects that fall on them when unregulated technology sweeps across the country. And they saw the social media world do this to them. They're the school districts and the healthcare systems that had to deal with the fallout from misinformation and addiction and everything else. So they're moving on this stuff. And so almost certainly the worker protection and algorithmic discrimination laws would be wiped out by this, right? This legislative framework that the White House is giving is basically saying we're going to wipe out all of these state laws. They should be preempted by federal law in all cases, but they're not saying we're going to replace them with our own toothsome laws. They're instead just saying we're going to just wipe them out and impose a minimally burdensome regime, basically, on the nation, because they want that they want us to be, super competitive. Now, I'd point out that polls really badly. More than, I think it's 79% of Republicans and 81% of Democrats in a Gallup poll essentially said they don't care if we fall behind China. They want regulation when it comes to AI. And yet what you're seeing here is this is exactly what folks like David Sachs, who's the AI czar in the White House, who's currently, according to the New York Times, still making money off his investments in AI companies. Mark Andreessen, head of Andreessen Horowitz, who's been a very vocal proponent of this sort of this sort of hands-off approach. He said on X recently, a 50-state patchwork is a startup killer. Federal AI legislation is essential. And Sam Altman of OpenAI has also said that a patchwork of state laws, he doesn't like that. And this is where it gets super transactional. All of this, that perspective, those people, has been made into a set of super PACs that have been pushing this kind of stuff. There's a super PAC called Leading the Future, where more than $100 million has been put into this network of political action committees that advocates against strict AI regulations in the midterm elections. They're pushing candidates against this stuff. And I would say, like, for instance, they pushed some candidates in the primaries in Illinois, and those candidates, for the most part, lost. People don't like the idea that AI industry gets its way here. And so it's very weird to see, and very transactional to see, the White House sort of pushing this stuff. So what I would say here is that this is, not all preemption argument is bad faith. Saying that we shouldn't have a patchwork of state laws does, in fact, make sense. But that only makes sense if you're going to replace those state laws with impactful federal laws that are actually going to protect people. But we're not doing that. And that's why 36 attorneys general from across the country have banded together to say, we don't like this. You should not preempt us. And that's a bipartisan group of people. Those are people who otherwise hate each other on this, on political issues. And so the model here is not, we're going to wipe out these state laws to establish a good floor of regulations that protect American consumers and American children and everything else. Instead, it's saying we're going to wipe all that stuff out and establish a ceiling past which you cannot go in terms of regulation. So I would argue that this is really, it's dressed up as a sort of push for innovation and, unleashing American creativity and all that stuff. But what this fundamentally is, I think, is deregulation before we've even gotten to regulation.
The Rip Current is produced and created by me, Jacob Ward. And if you liked this show and you want more content like this, go to theripcurrent.com, where I publish a weekly newsletter that covers these same sorts of stories of the big invisible forces that have us all in their grip. And if you want to really do me a favor, if you could go to where you have listened to this or watched it and like it, share it, or even better, review it. Holy cow, is that helpful? It's the best possible way for me to find a new audience. I really appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening.